What up, dog? Welcome back to the Beat Factory 313 War Stories podcast, and I'm your host, Juice. And I got another good one for y'all today. Nephew, let them know who we got with us today.
It's Ray Mike, man, known as Michael Putman, inmate number 690-138, man, out the Michigan Department of Corrections.
What's going on with you today, nephew? How you doing?
I'm peaceful, man. Locked down but never locked up, man. Ain't no cage in the world can contain a strong mind.
That's right. You got a very interesting case, man, and you willing to share it with the public. So, won't you start it from the beginning, how you end up where you are today?
Well, 11 years ago, man, on May the 21st, 2013, man, at 8108 Weatherby Street on the west side, Detroit west side between Time and Joy Road. There was an incident that occurred where a woman by the name of Miss Lovenier Craig was murdered. Donald Davy was shot and Stevie Lewis was shot in the house, while Mr. Lana Giddings was in the house but never got shot or harmed in any possible way. However, in the incident that occurred, Detroit Police Officer Sergeant Stephen Ford, with the help of his incredible witnesses, said that I came in the house that night around 12ish, and I was talking to the victims, and just casual conversation. Then out of nowhere, I pulled out a gun, a 38, and I said, "You know what time it is?" And I shot Dom Davy in the chest as he sat on the couch. And then they said I shot Stevie Lewis as he was running away in the back. And then they said Miss Lovenier Craig was running to the front door to try to get out of the house, and then I shot her from behind. However, the discrepancy in this case is that Detroit police and their witnesses' description of the incident do not comport with physical evidence. Miss Lovenier Craig was shot in the chest at the front door. The way her body was positioned in the crime scene photos that was shown at trial, her head was facing towards the back of the house as if she was opening the front door and got shot in the chest as she was amidst opening the front door. Okay. Stevie Lewis, who was a surviving victim, said that when he heard a knock at the door, Miss Lovenier Craig went to the door to open the door, and then a shot went off, which also it comports with the physical evidence in this case. So that means the person was never inside the house. That means the person had to shoot from outside the house and walk in the house. The funny thing about the situation is they never connected me to none of the victims. I don't even know none of the victims. I had no reason to have any grudge against Miss Craig. I don't know Donald Davy or Stevie Lewis. Never seen Donald Davy or Stevie Lewis until the first day of my trial or at my prelim with Donald Davy. Never ever seen these people a day in my life. Mr. Giddings was the only one who I knew. Me and him had a personal grudge against each other, and he know why we had a grudge. And an incident occurred 3 months before he involved me in this case. But Lana Giddings was the only person in the house who didn't get shot. He wasn't harmed. He's supposed to have called the police for the victims, and then he fled the scene without talking to police. And he stole Miss Lovenier Craig's phone in the process, which I can prove with physical evidence and factual evidence today. In the process, though, Mr. Giddings told 911 operator when he called the police, he told him that he didn't know who did the murder. He didn't know who was shot. He said he didn't even know the people in the house. And he said he didn't know nothing. And he fled the scene without talking to police. But it's funny because the next day he was apprehended for being at the house, fleeing the scene. He had an outstanding warrant for a probation violation. And he was interviewed for 3 hours and 20 minutes before he actually accused me of committing the crime. He said that a guy named Mike on Central, which was me at the time he was referring to, was the one who committed the crime. However, a Crime Stopper tip led to a guy named Mike on Central, which was by the name of Michael Terry. Michael Terry was placed in a photo array, showed to Mr. Davy in the hospital. Mr. Davy identified Mr. Terry, point blank period. Said, he is the one that shot me. No discrepancies that he looked like it or nothing. He said, that's the guy that did it. Right. Sergeant Ford never showed a picture of Mr. Terry to Lana Giddings or Stevie Lewis to see if they would have identified him either. He actually took Mr. Terry out of the photo lineup, and he allowed Mr. Giddings to pull me in it. And Mr. Giddings had every reason to allow me. He had criminal involvement in the case. He had an outstanding warrant. He told the police off bail that he never liked me. He had every reason to allow me. But the funny thing about it, it took him 3 hours and 20 minutes to actually say it was me. So I felt that he was covering up for somebody.
And then in his initial phone call, ain't he the one made the 911 call?
He is the one that made the 911 call. He's the whole he's the whole reason I'm involved in this case. He said that he was there. He said that he was there when it happened, that trial. But in the 911 call, he said he didn't know what happened. He said he was walking past. He seen the door to the house open, and then he just seen people in the house asking for help, and that's when he came and offered help. He didn't even make it known that he was in the house when the incident occurred when he called 911, which means he had another reason to lie. So I'm saying is, why is this guy lying? And then why do it take 3 hours and 20 minutes to tell the truth? Which means to me, I feel like he was a co-conspirator, probably with Michael Terry.
Wow.
I just got evidence from a friend of a family who was an officer, and she did some investigative work for me, and she just uncovered the fact that Mr. Terry was never locked up May the 21st, 2013, as Sergeant Ford testified at trial, which means that Sergeant Ford should have never removed him as a suspect since he was identified by the victim, that he was the one responsible. Sergeant Ford reason for eliminating Mr. Terry as a suspect was because he said he found out Mr. Terry was in prison on May the 21st, 2013. But today, factual evidence from an affidavit from a declarated officer said that Mr. Terry was never in prison May the 21st, 2013. So now the question begs, why would Sergeant Ford commit perjury on a stand deliberately, exposing himself to prison time, to jail time? Why would he do that? And I got other evidence right now to believe that Mr. Terry was possibly a CI at that time. I'm going through the channels right now to go through the course of petition for identity to be released, whether or not he is a CI. But right now, there's enough evidence pointing that he was a CI, and this goes to the point that Detroit police have covered up for a CI who was accused and identified by a surviving victim as committing the murder and other horrific crimes that occurred May the 21st, 2013.
And at trial, your lawyers ain't pull up the contradiction with old boy's testimony from his phone call to the stand?
Yes, sir. There was a lot of inconsistencies that was pointed out, and one of the witnesses, Stevie Lewis, was actually impeached as well because he was the one that said that, hey, when the shots went off, I took off running. Basically, I didn't see nothing, but he came to trial and said that he looked me in my face before I shot him, so he seen what I looked like. So my attorney moved to impeach him for inconsistent statements. Landon Giddings inconsistent statements and impeachment purposes was also highlighted. And then Mr. Davey also, was highlighted for his inconsistent statements and the fact that he identified somebody before me. So the state only evidence against me was eyewitness credibility. There's no physical evidence in this case that connect me to that crime.
Right.
I actually had two alibi witnesses at that time, which was my girlfriend who I was with at that time and her mother, who was actually came to trial, got on the stand and testified that I was in the early hours of May the 21st, 2013. However, the fraud that occurred by the state and Detroit police kind of overshadowed that, which is why I am sitting in prison today for 11 years under a wrongful conviction.
Now, what type of background do these officers have? Do you have any do you have a report on they conduct reports?
Right now, only person that I know who have misconduct and is untrustworthy he was published in 2020 by Ken Worthy on the Brady Diglio list was Alex Benson. Right now, Nancy Foster is going through some legal situations, a civil matter that a guy just got back. Nancy Foster was involved in my case. She's the reason why my ballistics was never introduced at trial. She said she sent my ballistics to Michigan State Police May the 21st, 2013. But Michigan State Police said that they didn't get ballistics till July the 30th, 2 months later. So she right now she's going through some things. I'm pretty sure she got some stuff on her jacket I'm not aware of. But Sergeant Stephen Ford, I have not uncovered anything yet as far as his involvement in other cases with misconduct and malfeasance.
Okay. Now, what stages are you in at this point in time with your case?
Right now, I'm currently in the Court of Appeals, humbly requesting for the Court of Appeals to remand my case back down to the trial courts. That way, they can consider my new evidence as far as with my ballistics. My ballistics is new evidence. I did not retrieve my results through a Freedom of Information Act until 2020. In Michigan, you can file a second relief from judgment if you got new evidence that was discovered after your first relief from judgment. My first relief from judgment was decided in 2015. I got my ballistic results in 2020, which entitled me to a right to file a second relief from judgment based off actual innocence. So right now, trial courts erroneously denied me, saying I don't have new evidence. So I'm asking the Court of Appeals now to remand it back down because I met the threshold of the new evidence standard of Michigan 6.502, MCR 6.502. So I'm going through that. Mm-hmm. My affidavit that I just got from the police officer, I have not tied that in to my relief from judgment yet because I'm waiting for the Court of Appeals to send it back down. And my fiance is about to put some money together to grab an attorney. That way we can tie this additional evidence in with my already existing new evidence. And then we're going to petition the courts also to compel Detroit police to release the identity of whether or not Mr. Terry is a CI, because that's going to be critical to the whole process. That shows why Detroit police covered up for Mr. Terry. That shows why Sergeant Ford got on the stand and deliberately lied about Mr. Terry's whereabouts. So that's going to help out too. So right now I'm going through that channel. I'm just following the proper chain right now.
Now, did they do forensics from the start of the trial? From the first trial, did y'all get forensics?
None at all.
Okay.
None at all, right? I promise you, at final conference before a month before trial, the prosecutor said there's no forensic evidence that ever been submitted in this case. Ballistics, he was meaning ballistics too. Fast forward at trial, Sergeant Ford get on the stand and said he submitted forensic evidence, which was ballistics, but it wasn't yet completed. Evidence technician Rick Fields get on the stand. He said Sergeant Samuel Mackey of Detroit Homicide told him he didn't have to collect no blood samples, no DNA, no fingerprints, no nothing, because he felt like everything in the house belonged to the victim. I don't even know how that's possible, but this is exactly what he said in my transcripts. He told the evidence technician, Samuel Mackey, Sergeant Samuel Mackey of Detroit Police Homicide, told evidence technician Rick Fields, you do not have to collect any physical evidence in this case. That's literally in my transcripts to this day.
Okay.
At trial, he said that.
And what about getting forensics on what about RP to the deceased, the deceased lady and her position and where the shooter had to be the shooter at?
Right. See, and now that's where I'm going through now, because as an innocent defendant, you know, I'm financially stricken, but there is a law right now in Michigan under People versus Kennedy, and saying that an indigent defendant has a right to petition the courts for an expert witness if the expert witness will help him marshal his defense into the courts, where he can kind of prove his claims about his innocence and things of this nature. So you can petition the courts to appoint you an expert witness at public cost, because I'm indigent. So right now I'm going through that channel right now in order to get expert witnesses to help me prove my actual innocence. But my judge has failed to actually consider that motion, and it's been pending on the docket.
You have 1 minute remaining.
It's been pending on the docket since last year. So right now he's been stalling on actually considering that. And I feel like right now, with Detroit police being under investigation of the internal affairs, I think that's playing a part in people dragging their feet right now with exposing this misconduct from Detroit police.
Okay. So what grounds you think you need? What route you going now? What you think the best route?
I'm going through with a Brady violation. I'm going through with a perjury testimony claim. I'm going through with an ineffective assistant trial counsel claim and appellate counsel claim, all compiled in underneath alternative theories. Okay.
Anything else you want to let the people know about what's going on with your case? Oh, and you can call back, nephew, if you like. You feel me? If you got more.
I'm about to call back right now, big bro.
Okay. Bet. I'm gonna pause it. All right, we back, nephew. You can resume.
Yeah. So, you know, man, what I want, you know, I want everybody to know, man, right now, bro, it's, you know, for 11 years, man, I've been trying to prove my innocence, man. And, you know, I feel like a great injustice has been done because Detroit police have literally covered up for a CI, you know, sir. And they have actually put this case on me in order to protect one of their own. And it's unfair. But again, man, this is a life, you know, saying that comes, this what comes with the street life, right? You know, one of the old heads once said, man, when you jump into a world, you can't pick and choose what you get out that world. You got to take everything that come with that world. You know what I'm saying? Lying crackheads, individuals looking to save their own skin, corrupt police officers, man, backward dealing homeboys, you know, snakes, rats, whatever it is. You got to take everything that come with that world. You can't pick and choose what you get out that world. You know, so not only with my last words of just letting people know what I want them to understand about my case, how I'm innocent and how I have been falsely accused with the help of certain Detroit police officers.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't want to spread a smear campaign on all Detroit police officers, you know, because all Detroit police officers didn't play a part in my case, and I don't see all Detroit police officers as bad people or wrong people. I'm not anti-law enforcement. I'm not bitter. I don't hold that type of animosity. But I want youth today to understand that, man, when you playing in that streets, when you out there getting money, man, and you call yourself, hey, man, I'm getting money. I ain't into the murder game, the robbery game, and all that. You can't dictate that world blending into yours. When I was in the streets, all I did was sold drugs. Anybody who know me know I sold drugs. I wasn't for the war. I wasn't for the gunplay things and that nature because I just understood that never mixed. However, when you start getting into competition with people, I feel like this is where nefarious plots come in at. I feel like this is where people try to put schemes together to get you out the way because they want your territory. And this is how I feel about my case. Mm-hmm. I feel like Landon Giddings conspired with Michael Terry, and I feel like they all was kind of in cahoots with the individuals whose territories that I was on selling drugs. Mm-hmm. And I always want the youth to understand that there's more to life than what you have been given. Though your situations and circumstances have been paved out for you before you came into this world. But once you get older, you have to rewrite your own script. You can't keep letting people write your script for you. This system is vicious. There's a vicious cycle, but the cycle is only effective because we are constantly playing by the rules that governs the system. We can no longer play by the rules. We have to start educating ourselves. We have to push ourselves forward, whether it's on an educational level, economic, politically, and socially. We have to start moving out of this slumping state, out of this dead state, out of this script that has been written for us, man. And I want the youth to understand the full potential they have. There's so many people today in the world who are enjoying this power, control, and dominance that they are having over the people, over the mass, especially the marginalized community. And they'll do anything in their power to keep you from knowing who you truly are.
Talk to them.
I would ask individuals to have a courage to be different. You know, when I was a kid, I was coming up, man, I did what the consensus did because I feel like I didn't want to be ridiculed for standing out for being different. Mm-hmm. But sometimes you got to be courageous enough to stand on your own, and that way you'll see a lot of people will actually follow your lead, and you never know who life you may be able to save.
That's right. Talk to them, nephew. And let them know what they'd be faced if they're making the wrong decisions and get caught up in the system, man. Thinking the streets is what it is.
Most certainly, man. You know, one thing for certain, man, when you come in prison, bro, like all the dignity, all the high standards, the self-esteem that you have, man, it's gonna be put on test now. Because when you get in here, the things you pride of yourself on that make you a man, material possessions, women, money, and all that, you ain't got that in here. You stripped of all that. Now it's time for a man to find his real identity. But it gets wicked in here, man. At the end of the day, man, you find yourself caught up in this gang life in prison. You find yourself caught up in the prison politics. Next thing you know, you stabbing, harming individuals in here who are frustrated just like you. You know, they're not your enemy, but we see each other as enemy. But in that same process, you get locked in. I've seen guys come to prison trying to fight to prove they're innocent, actually prove their innocence, but then when they get back, they got to deal with a murder they caught in prison, or they got to deal with an attempt murder they caught in prison, whether it's on a staff or it's on another inmate. At the end of the day, man, when you come in here, man, you fed garbage, you're wearing garbage clothes, you treated beneath your worth, you treated beneath your values, man. And if you don't got a strong mind and you don't shift the paradigm, the way you see a man, the way you see life, this thing will break you, it will crush you. You'll be off psych meds in here, you'll be off all type of other drugs that alters the consciousness, man. It's terrible. And I will beg the youth, man, to change the trajectory of their life now before they get wrapped up in the vicious cycle of recidivism and incarceration.
Man, that was powerful there, Mike. You feel me? And tell them Tell them some of the things you face with proving your innocence. Tell them how the court's playing it, and you producing evidence. How they responded to you.
Right, man. So it's crazy, right? Because my judge, man, he's looked at as he's new, he's considered fair and all of that. But sometimes, man, you run into a politic game. Sometimes you run into the wrong timing structure, right?
Mm-hmm.
Timing is everything. Timing determines success. But I filed into the courts with my new evidence, and my judge ordered the prosecutor to respond. One thing about when the judge ordered a prosecutor to respond, basically the judge telling the prosecutor, like, okay, based upon the preliminary consideration of Mr. Putman's claims and arguments, he satisfied the threshold to come in arguing a valid claim. So he told the prosecutor that I had new evidence in his order. I got the order. It literally says Mr. Putman did not receive this evidence until more than 3.5 years after his conviction. Mm-hmm. However, after the prosecution filed a late response, I end up getting a denial from my judge telling me I don't meet the new evidence threshold. But I got an order that told the prosecutor I did. So, it's the politics that you deal with, man, coming in wrong timing, especially if you're an individual who don't got all type of money and you got to fight for yourself. You got to be your own lawyer. They politic you on that. They want to see if you know what you don't know. They throw all these little curves and haymakers at you to see if it'll deter you from the path you own, man. And it's just too much. I've been in the courts literally fighting with my new evidence that I got before this affidavit that I'm about to present. I've been in the courts fighting since 2022, mm-hmm. and my motion just finally got decided in 2024.
Wow, you feel me?
So it is a rough landscape, man. It is rough terrain to really traverse, man. And again, it's one of the ones you don't want to really get locked into it. Lil Durk said it real. He said you got to beat your case at court. You ain't got no time for an appeal. But I like to say, man, that you don't even want to enter the door. You don't even want to enter the door of the criminal justice system because you can prevent all that from occurring, man, by just literally changing the trajectory of your life.
That's right. And tell them how these living arrangements is in there. What y'all going through with the living arrangements?
Man, it's so terrible, right? Because right now, since 2016, I've been living in cubicle structures, and right now I'm living in like a pole barn setting. It's 150 guys in one unit, and it's open floor settings, and it's 8-man cubes on one side of the hallway and 6-man cubes on the other side of the hallway. You can only imagine the solitude that a man would never get around 150 guys all day long, open floor settings, noise all day long, especially when you're dealing with emotionally immature people, intellectually immature people, man. It's one of the ones where they got to stacked on top of each other. Deplorable conditions, black mold in the showers, stars going out, medical system terrible. It's just one of the ones where, man, they have literally designed it for it to be uncomfortable and for it to be humiliating and dehumanizing.
And how accessible is you being how accessible is it for you to get to the law library to work on your case?
Man, fortunately, man, for me, I am a law library clerk, so I'm able to go over there almost every day. Mm-hmm. But man, for individuals who's trying to go into the law library, man, it becomes difficult because now when you get over there, sometimes it's a long waiting list. It depends on what prison you at. There's a long waiting list to get in there, and you might have a deadline in your case. But then when you get over there, you might not even have access to certain material. You know what I'm saying? Things of that nature. You might not even have an adequate clerk who know how to help and assist you in researching certain cases and issues dealing with your conviction. Mm-hmm. Man, it's almost like the system has been designed to go against you. Sure. And every turn at the system, man, you're fighting an uphill battle. And it's a mind-bending situation.
So y'all don't have no organizations on the inside that y'all work with, like the legal age, no more, none of that, to work on these types of conditions or situations from the inside?
No, we don't. Right? Certain prisons today, you got the National Lifers of America. The National Lifers of America, sometimes they got legal committees, depending on what prison you at. Some of them don't have them. They're supposed to have them, but you may not have somebody that'll step up to the plate. So it's a void. There's a vacuum when it comes to that process, structure inside in LA. But it depends on what prison you at, man. But there's a lot of organizations that are not accessible to us. And then, there is other organizations that wouldn't mind helping you, but seeing how mass incarceration have kind of ramped up, they limited on their resources. There's not enough money to go around to assist everybody, and it's it's one of the ones where the system is reinforcing itself every turn.
So as the taxpayers out here, what way would you get them to vote to look out for that with the parties that's favoring some of the prisoners' rights? Because they don't be knowing what's going on with the prison inside. They don't make that public size to the public. You know what I'm saying? So that's why
one thing I would say with the taxpayers, man, I understand again, prisons have to be in place. You got some people that's not fit for society. I get it. I'm not about to sit here and say, anti-prison and all that without a true solution to the situations at hand with the crimes and stuff. But at the end of the day, man, they just close yards. I'm gonna have to call you back when I get in. If I ain't get a chance to call you back when I get in, I'm gonna have to call you at the count.
Okay, bet. All right.
Count time like at 1, so I'll be able to call you back around 1:20, 1:30.
All right, nephew, I got you, and I appreciate you for tapping in.
We can just pick up on that what the taxpayers should need to know.
All right, bet.
Appreciate this opportunity too, big bro, man. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam rahmatullah barakatuh. Waiting on your call, brother.
Alhamdulillah.
Appreciate you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. No problem.
All right, y'all. We go close this out. That was Southwest Mike coming out of out on your prison right now. He's fighting a murder / 2 attempt murders, allegedly, that he's claiming his innocence. And just to show you the streets ain't what it is, your competition will try to get you out the way by all means necessary. You know what I'm saying? Ain't no, like he was trying to explain to you, I'm gonna break it down to layman term. Ain't no rules when you jumping off into this street game. One's go play the rules how they see fit for them to win. That's simple as that. You think it's some rules to this for real? All the guys that you think OGs and looked up to, check their track record and see what rules did they violate. So the rules are set up for you to win. So people play the rules by how they see fit for them to win the game that they playing. You know what I'm saying? He said he was out there strictly hustling, and his competition led him into a murder / 2 attempts. And got on the stand on. So the streets ain't what it is. Hit that like button, comment, and subscribe, and let's get this on the floor. We'll go stop and try to help the youth, and we'll go try to bring awareness to wrongfully convicted individuals. You know what I'm saying? Men and the women. So I need y'all to tap in, and I'm gonna still get y'all them war stories, them gangster stories that y'all love to hear, the hood stories. But I need y'all to tap in so we can help these incarcerated individuals get the justice that they deserve. You know what I'm saying? Everybody ain't wrongfully convicted, so I'm not saying everybody, but those who are, let's try to help them. You know what I'm saying? But we won't know if we don't hear him out. So y'all just saw his case. I pushed it up there. Look him up. He put his whole name out there, and he was name dropping. So y'all can do your own research and investigate it. You know what I'm saying? It could be your loved ones. It could be you one day. But we need to bring awareness and try to help these individuals with at least bringing awareness to it. It ain't about finance all the time. You know what I'm saying? But those who can help, as far as paralegals, any lawyers out there that want to lend they brain power and their skills to try to help some of these individuals look into these cases, feel free to tap in with me and let's see how we can help these individuals. I'm trying to get them help. With that being said, I'm about to close out and get this story out to y'all. And I appreciate if y'all hit that like, comment, and subscribe and share my interviews. And with that, I'm out. And remember, the streets ain't what it is. And there's many stories in the urban community. This is just another one. And we're going to keep dropping them until we get some help. And I'm out. Peace. And it's the Beat Factory 313 War Story Podcast. And I'm your host, Juice.
And not even about me, You all had an opportunity to have access to the office because this is who I laid down with every night. So he made sure we didn't get it wrong in that office. And it spread and permeated across this country when I was able to tell the real world and the real experiences that when people are treated like animals and savages, that you justify how you treat them. No, every person who goes through the system is a human being, and what I'm here to tell you is that you will be treated like human beings from across this world.
Talk that talk. Talk that talk. Talk that talk.
On behalf of every prosecutor across this country, I apologize for the mistreatment, for the abuse, all the things that have been through. I am with you to end the mass incarceration, to fight for cash bail, to ensure that re-entry for people who have a felony conviction is